I'd like to welcome you to the next conversation at North Road Investment Counsel. I am Marshall McAlister, president at North Road, and welcoming Cary Williams with me today. How are you today, Cary?
Doing great. I'm really excited to talk about Canadian wealth and income today. I think we're going to get a lot of interest from folks about what quote unquote normal income and wealth looks like in Canada. I think lots of folks are going to find this really valuable.
Absolutely. For the last couple of decades, we've been, at least I've been helping clients with financial planning and income. And I've been interested to hear that many clients feel that their income just doesn't quite stack up to what their either friends or neighbors or what Canadians' income is today. So we have taken some time and dug into some data from Statistics Canada. And we are here to share what a Canadian wealth and income experience actually looks like. So let's jump in, Cary.
Great. Let me bring up the info that we've got. All right. You can see that okay, Marshall?
Sure can.
All right. Take it away. Here we go.
So the first set of data that we wanted to show is the overall income of all Canadians in at working age and older throughout our whole country. So the median income comes in at $45,000. And just for a quick statistics lesson, the median is the average number that's directly in the absolute middle. So 50% of the participants would be higher than $45,000, and 50% of these participants would be less. What is interesting to note, I believe, is the incomes at 150,000, 200,000, and 250,000. Those percentages are really quite low. 5% of Canadians making over 150,000, 3% making over 200, and only 1% making over $250,000 Canadian in a year. What can you take from those numbers, Cary?
Yeah, I think something that's important to understand, Marshall, because there's for sure going to be some folks raising an eyebrow about the numbers, and these are personal numbers, so it's not families that are coming through at these income levels, but individuals across all spectrums in Canada, so all of Canada, both geographically and socio-demographically. So I think it's really fascinating because I think, based on the conversations you and I've had with many of our clients, I think many of our clients feel that sometimes that the folks around them are making more money than they are, and that they're potentially falling behind or they're not keeping pace. And when we look at the level of income that the quote unquote average Canadian or median Canadian makes, I think many Canadians would be surprised by that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think media plays into the extreme numbers that we can see. Very successful business owners and professionals making outrageously high numbers really is not the typical experience for us as Canadians.
For sure.
The next set of data is income by couples. So two adults living together. We now can, I think, get a better idea of what family income looks like, and a much more typical experience for couples with children and without. So now we see the median income at $114,500. Much, I guess, a much safer level of income if you're kind of living at an average lifestyle here in Canada. Many are under that, of course, and I think there is again, we can look at the percentages of people making greater than 250,000 at 11%. It's not very common that two individuals are doing more than $250,000 a year.
For sure. And I know, Marshall, we won't touch on it today, but there is quite a lot of data coming out looking at things post-COVID versus pre-COVID, and these numbers have changed a lot. But from a real perspective, a post-inflation perspective, for sure there are some families that are having challenging times as a result of inflation in the last few years. But from a relative income perspective or a comparisons perspective, I think many folks in Canada, and especially folks who may be on social media, may be surprised surprised by these numbers that we're showing.
Absolutely. Okay, what's the next thing that we wanted to show is the overall spending averages in Canada. So typical spending for a household is coming in at $108,000 per year. And most of that is the consumption for running your life. $77,000 of that amount of money is what it takes to do life.
Yeah, I think Marshall. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was just going to highlight here this idea of income taxes being set here. One of the things that that we often have conversations around is the difference between variable incremental tax versus average tax. And so this would be more of an average tax number at about 25%, not the perspective of incremental tax as we get wealthier.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Do you want to add anything on that one?
No, I think that's good. Let's transition over to and the province that you and I are in right now. We can't take every province and dissect it, but we are going to do Alberta and just make a comparison to what the income experience and spending experience is in this province. We as a province are younger and we are wealthier than the Canadian average, and individuals' income on average is coming in just under $48,000, which is higher than the Canadian average. We also see that by percentage, we do have more people by percentage earning greater than $200,000 and $250,000, but it's not everyone. We're looking at 4% in total for 200,000 and higher, and 2% over $250,000 for the individual. Let's transition to couples now. Here we see the average two individual, either no kids or with kids home, is bringing in almost $25,000 a year in 2023 income. So now we can see a much more probable scenario where mom or dad or two individuals are making over $200,000 at either 23% or over $250,000 at 13%. So our clients tend to hang out in the lower numbers, and that's just the way that we built our practice. But for the average Albertan experience, many families are over $100,000 moving to 125. And what we've been able to learn from things that we've read is you can actually have a great life running income in and around $100,000 Canadian. Happiness and income can actually connect together, and you don't need to make $1 million a year to have a great life. Am I right, Cary?
Yes, and I think, one of the interesting things about the happiness research is it really does start to delineate between the relative happiness, how do we feel when we compare ourselves to the folks around us, and the sort of absolute happiness, which might come from a sense of purpose in our life, whether that's kids or philanthropy or our religion or any of those kind of things. So I think it's possible to both feel unhappy because of who we're surrounded by potentially and the wealth we're surrounded by, and still be happy and feel like we have purpose at the same time. Humans are complex.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Well, even as we're saving money for retirement, we build this asset level to provide income in retirement. If you can generate, over $100,000 or $150,000 worth of income in retirement that's supported with Canada Pension Plan, OAS, oftentimes there's two of those. Your income on average is very comparable. It actually is better than most of the other Canadians that we're seeing in these studies.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at the history, Canada Pension Plan was originally developed to provide 25% of the average income, right? It was meant to be a real backstop and a foundation to keep folks out of poverty. And old age security, very similarly. I mean, it's called old age security for a reason. It's to provide security for folks in their old age when they don't have assets. So we've done a phenomenal job in the last few decades pulling seniors out of poverty with programs like that. And to your point, as folks who can take advantage of those benefits, even if we're above the poverty line, so to speak, it really does provide a great foundation for retirement. And I think, Marshall, I'm going to bring that last spending slide back up here. But when we look at household spending in Alberta, if we think about what you said around CPP and old age security providing the base for healthy spending and safe spending in retirement, it does get us a fair amount of the way towards kind of average spending, as we note here in this slide.
For sure. Another evidence of Alberta being a richer province than other provinces. We are not the richest province, but by income numbers. That honor goes to Ontario and British Columbia, but our income is higher than average, which is, I guess it's good to know for us in Alberta.
Okay. Marshall, that is the end of our slides. Was there anything else you wanted to add before we sign off?
I think just in closing, I guess it's just good to know what the average normal kind of wealth and income perspective is, and I think people need to cut themselves a bit of a break. You're doing okay. You don't need to make $500,000 a year to have a great life. Very few people do. Be careful what you watch on TV and what your phone is telling you. It's lying to you slightly.
Whether you live in Alberta, BC, or in Ontario or any other province, right? There's probably a little bit of aggravation being created. Just keep your eyeballs there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very good. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and looking forward to hearing your comments and your questions.